is Tim. This is book 1 for June 2020. It's dark, so the lighting is weird. Alright? So excuse that. We're reading the Angry Book. We're reading through it. We're making our way, so let's continue. Freezing it. Freezing it is the total perversion. It combines the perversions I've already described with its own peculiar refinements. We can say that if there was an accurate way, and there isn't, to measure the degree of perverted anger, we would then know the degree of freezing it. The various perversions are not mutually exclusive. We, all of us, combine putting it off and putting it down, and so on. Some of us use one perversion more than another. Those of us with great angry problems will undoubtedly make much use of all the perversions. Our healthier confreres will pervert anger to a lesser degree. The particular combination of perversions, or the particular perversion we must use, or we use most, will depend on our total personal histories and character structures. Of course, consciousness and unconsciousness regarding our difficulties with anger and our perverting of anger will also be relative and will exist in varied combinations. In any case, the destructive effect will be directly proportional to the degree of perverting, whatever the degree, will however always be destructive. It will result in a slush fund of perverted anger, providing ample material for conversion to assorted poisons discussed in Part 3. If it were possible, a measure of the reservoir of slush of the assorted poisons, of the degree of perverted, or of a combination of all, would indicate the degree of freezing it. Freezing it is the measure of success in subverting anger. It never works on anger exclusively. It always affects all our emotions, including love. It is a measure of our total success in removing ourselves from our feelings, especially anger. In removing ourselves from our feelings, that is, in submerging and deadening our feelings, we are extraordinarily destructive of ourselves. This is a form of self-imposed anesthesia, like ether or gas, that kills our spontaneity, sensitivity, and potential creativity. It is the great destroyer of self and human identity and human relatedness. How can we relate if we don't feel? We cannot feel with a frozen finger, and we cannot feel with frozen emotions. As with a frozen limb, an emotional gangrene sets in, which in feeling tone removes us from humanity, from ourselves and other people. Freezing it, removing oneself from what one feels by whatever means and measures, that is, perverting and deadening one's feelings, may well be considered the total measure of emotional pathology or neuroses in a human being. Let's go on to Part 3. Anxiety. A great deal of emotional slush is constantly being twisted into anxiety. Anxiety is derived from many sources: emotional conflicts, hurt pride, loss of self-esteem, and so on. But much of it is derived directly from the slush bank. Indeed, it is my belief that the slush bank provides the principal fuel of anxiety-producing machinery. Anxiety itself is a highly complicated subject on which many papers and books have been written. It is not our purpose to write another one here. However, anxiety, as the almost inseparable and sometimes indistinguishable blood brother of perverted anger, slush, is certainly a major poison and therefore deserving of our attention. Slush can be twisted into anxiety that is then felt as primitive anxiety in its raw form, or slush can be twisted into anxiety that then produces all kinds of complicated symptoms. These symptoms are then a response to slush and anxiety. These symptoms are designed to dissipate and to combat the very slush and anxiety that produced the symptoms in the first place. An anxiety attack derived from twisting slush often occurs in an individual fearful of anger, who feels possible loss of control and an impending emergence of anger. Let's finish out this chapter. Anxiety in its raw and primitive form may be felt by emotionally and physically the anxiety attack. The victim may feel fearful mildly or to the point of panic with a feeling of dissolution, of coming apart, of loss of self or identity, of a sense of doom without being able to tell why. The feeling may be accompanied by heart palpitations, flushing, shaking, chills, sweats, gastrointestinal upsets, severe headaches, nausea, neck stiffening, muscle cramps, and so on. These symptoms may exist alone or in combination and in any degree of intensity. Anxiety in a complicated form can result in any number of emotional disorders, either acute and relatively short-lived or chronic and of lifelong duration. These may include disorders of personality or character resulting in stilted, rigid, codified kinds of behavior, invariably destructive to oneself, one's relationships, and one's functioning in all areas. Anxiety can also result in any number of recognizable symptoms of emotional disorder. These include depressions, obsessions, fixed irrational preoccupations or ideas or irrational beliefs, irrational compulsions, the need to do certain things again and again, even though there is no obvious rationale for the action, phobias, inordinate irrational fears or bridges, closed places, trains, heights, and so on, severe insomnia, etc. As I said before, these symptoms are a way of mitigating anxiety. Unfortunately, they are themselves highly destructive and also produce additional anxiety and symptoms, again activating very vicious circles. Indeed, it has been said that anxiety is the fuel that keeps the motor of neurosis running. For our purposes, however, it is important to remember that perverted anger is a major force producing and sustaining anxiety. All the poisons that follow will stem from perversion of the slush bank, but many will also have their roots in anxiety. If we consider perverted anger as mother of the poisons, anxiety included as a major poison and therefore as a child, then perhaps we may consider anxiety as an incestuous father. It's from Angry Book. Until next time, I want to thank you for supporting me. And I want to say take care of your mind, take care of your body, and be safe out there.